Dobar dan svima. Zadovoljstvo mi je što mogu da najavim još jednog specijalnog gosta ovogodišnjeg foruma. Obratit će nam se gospodin Guillaume Lelier, izvršni direktor u kompaniji Marsh, globalnom lideru u upravljanju rizicima i osiguranju. Gospodin Lelier je odgovoran za razvoj i vođenje Affinity programa širom Evrope, radeći sa bankama, maloprodajnim lancima, telekomunikacionim kompanijama i drugim partnerima na kreiranju prilagođenih osiguravajućih rešenja za krajnje korisnike. Ima dugogodišnje iskustvo u oblasti osiguranja, strateškog razvoja, distribucije, i partnerstava sa fokusom na inovacije, digitalne modele i rast poslovanja na evropskom tržištu. Gospodin Lelier će prezentirati globalni risk report za 2026. studiju koju svake godine priprema Svetski ekonomski forum u saradnji i pod pokroviteljstvom kompanije Marsh. Radi se o rangiranju rizika od strane više od 900 akademskih, poslovnih i vladinih lidera. Izveštaj o globalnim rizicima predstavlja ključni vodič za identifikovanje, razumevanje i pripremu adekvatne strategije za današnje i za rizike u budućnosti. U izveštaju se opisuju glavna rizična pitanja sa kojima će se lideri iz poslovne zajednice suočiti, zajedno sa praktičnim koracima za planiranje onoga što je pred nama. Nakon izlaganja gospodina Leliera sledi pauza od 5 minuta, a onda i nastavak programa u skladu sa agendom. Gospodine Lelier, izvolite.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me well? Yes? Nice to be here to present this Global Risks Report 26, which is called Strategies for Managing this New Age of Competition. So today's discussion is not about isolated risks. It's about a structural shift in the risk ecosystem, because we have entered what we describe in the report, a new age of competition. So which means that competition is not anymore about markets competition, but it's wider than that. So it's about geopolitics, economy, societal considerations, and also environmental considerations, along with technological risks. So this new age of competition is about being prepared to manage a large diversity of risks, and not only one, and risks which are interconnected together. So the question that we'll try to answer today together, if you agree, is that it's not whether the disruption will come, but how we are prepared collectively to address this disruption to come. And this will be the question for today. So this report was prepared for the World Economic Forum of Davos, and I'm very happy to present it to you. So as I've said, so this report frames the question of this new age of competition. It's not anymore about markets, it's about geopolitics, technology, society. And this is why the risks that you can see here in this age of competition are very much revealing. We are speaking about geo-economic confrontation. We are speaking about state-based armed conflicts. We are speaking about extreme weather events. And we are speaking also about societal polarization. And also, and this is more and more important, misinformation and disinformation. And then this report asks the question whether we are already over the edge, which means are we already to the point of no return, where we cannot go back to the previous states, because we are in a world which is not anymore multilateral. It's multipolar, but not multilateral, and this is a big change. We are speaking about economies which are potentially shrinking, or at least it's a risk which is perceived, because debt is rising and bubble can burst. Thinking of the AI bubble, it did not burst yet, but it could. We are also speaking about values which are at war, and which means that the polarization across society is sharpening. We are speaking about infrastructures which are at risk because they are aging and because of climate factors. We are speaking also about technology, and this is rather new. We are speaking about AI and quantum computing. And these new technologies have two sides. Both of them have two sides. One side which is an opportunity side, and this we'll speak about it, but also a risk side. And this risk is more and more perceived by the business leaders and the worldwide leaders, as we can see. But the report is also concluding on a positive note, which is called the coalitions of the willing, which means that we are all facing the same risks and the same challenges. So there is no reason not to collaborate. And this is the key message, I think, of this report is really how can we find a way to collaborate, because ultimately we are facing the same challenges. And this is really the key strong message of this report. Maybe a few comments about this report. So it's its 21st year of publication. So it's an institution by itself, if I can say it like that. It's grounded in a survey which interviewed 1,300 academic, business, government, and other experts worldwide. It was also complemented by 11,000 business executives across the globe, and also 159 subject matter experts involved themselves. So this report was built for the World Economic Forum of Davos in collaboration with Marsh, that I'm representing today. So as this report is quite old already, or is already an institution, as we said, we have some capacity to look backwards about the perception of risk. And this slide is interesting because it shows the evolution of the perception of risk. And when we speak about perception of risk, we are not speaking about theory. This is action, because the perception of risk that you have guides your action. So the way you perceive the risk decides the way you act. So whatever is on this slide explains the way business, country, academic leaders act to address these risks. So if we look at this slide, you can see that there are five different colors, 5 types of risks: economic risks, environmental risks linked to climate, geopolitical risks, societal one, technological. And you can see that these risks were perceived differently across the years. I will not go into each and every year, but I think there are 3 movements to look at when we look at this slide. Actually, the first movement started in 2008 with the subprime crisis. And you can see that this movement ended in 2014. This was about economic risks. Following the financial crisis, economic risks were top of mind of everyone. And then came a second movement between 2016 up to 2023. And there it was climate change, which was top of mind of everyone. You can see so many green boxes: climate change mitigation and adaptation failure, extreme weather, extreme climate, biodiversity loss. These were risks which were identified as part of this second movement in the last years. And since 2024, we are entering a new movement, which is more complex, which is more difficult to explain. It's a movement where risks are diverse. You can see that we have risks around technology, around climate, around societal risk, like societal polarization. And also, we have some risk also about economy. The difficulty in this movement that we are in, this third movement since 2024, is that we have a large diversity of risks. And as we will see in this report, these risks are very much interconnected. And interconnection of risks means amplification of risks. And this is the difficulty in which we are in. We are facing risks which are very diverse, which are touching each and every layer of the society, being technology, being the society itself, being geopolitics, being climate, being economy. And these risks are interconnected together. So here the message of this slide is not that we are facing more risks than before. It's more about that these risks are propagating themselves faster than before. And this is what we will see in this report. So here on this slide, we are looking forward. Before we were looking backwards, what was the perception of risks over time in the last years, and now we are looking forward. What is the evolution of risks which is expected in the next years? And you can see that we have 2 horizons of time on this slide. The first horizon is in the near term, 2 years. The second horizon is in the longer term, 10 years. Don't try to sequence that. Don't try to make links between 2 years and 10 years because there are actually no real concrete link. It's just that the perception of risks change whether we look very far away in time or if we look in 2 years. So in 2 years, it's pretty much similar to what we just saw, right? A constellation of risks which are very diverse. So we are speaking about geo-economic confrontation, Misinformation and disinformation, this is more and more important. This is fueled by AI also. We speak about societal polarization, extreme weather events, state-based armed conflict, and the news in the last days in the Middle East confirms this risk, which is very prominent today, and then cyber insecurity, etc., etc. If we look at the more longer-term agenda, you can see that there are a lot of considerations around climate. So climate change is still here. We could not see it in the slide before in 25 and 26, not too much, not as before, right? So climate change is still here, but it's for the longer term. So it's considered as a mega trend, which will hit us at one point and which will come anyway, but it's not to be managed right now. It's more for the longer term. And then if we look at the next slide, and this is where the difficulty starts, because it's about interconnections. And it would be too easy if we would be able to take these risks independently from each other. If we treat the society risk on one side and then the climate risks on the other side, actually the picture is more complex, as you can see on this graph. It's very much revealing. So the slide, it's about how we become operational, how we manage risks, which are systemic, which are interconnected to each other, and which are then amplifying each other. And this is the key word, amplification. If you have one shock somewhere of this graph, this shock will spread to the next bubbles, and it will amplify, and then it will go to the next ones, and to the next ones, and then it will hurt you. And this is what we need to be prepared for. This is what we need to work on as business leaders, as society leaders, academic leaders. Just to give a few examples. Misinformation, and this is a prominent risk these days with AI, fuels polarization of opinions in societies, right? This polarization weakens, decreases the trust we put into the institutions. Institutions could be the country, but could be also corporates. So the more we have misinformation, the more we have polarization. The more polarization we have, the less trust we have in our institutions. The less trust we have in our institutions, the more volatility we'll get. And then this is reducing our capacity to decide. So this is very important to consider this risk as an interconnection between themselves and an amplification chamber, kind of. To take another risk and speak about AI, so AI accelerates cyber threats, as you know. The more AI we have in society, the more sophisticated will be the threats that we are facing because of AI. And this will create cyber incidents which are more and more impactful. And these will damage our infrastructure. And if we have critical infrastructure which are damaged, this will increase the escalation risk. And this will go back to society. So again, another amplification. If we look at extreme weather, because extreme climate is still a prominent risk, this damages also infrastructure. It increases disruption, displacement, social tension, and then it feeds back into governance and into the trust and into your economic stability. So what we are looking at, it's a non-linear system. There is no straight line to explain everything. It's just an interconnection of things. It's a matrix where it cannot be managed in silos. So when we speak about resilience, because this is what we're speaking about when we speak about risk, the way to resist to risk is resilience. Is not to avoid them, but is to be ready to welcome them in a way. So it's about increasing resilience, and this cannot be managed in silos. So if we speak about corporate world, you cannot have your operations on one side, your technology on the other side, your HR working on the other side, because they are all facing the same risk, and they all need to be together to address the risk, because the risk is systemic and interconnected. And this is a playbook for us in the future. So switching to the next view of this report, which is about the top risk concerns for business leaders. Here you have only the view from business leaders. So you remember there are 11,000 business executives who were interviewed across the globe. And this is what they say. So this is a snapshot for some countries. So a lot of European countries plus US. And then we have a deep dive on the Adriatic region and also here about what happens. So a few comments here. The first comment is that when you look at country level, then the picture is a bit different. You don't have like all the colors that we had before, the large diversity of risks. Countries are actually more focused on their kind of set of risks, if I can say it like that. However, there is a consensus that economic downturn is one of the major risks. It's everywhere, almost everywhere. I think the only country which does not mention it in the top 5, I think it's Spain. But here still they have some economic risks. So economic downturn is a consensus. This is one of the major risks because then it fuels inequality, it fuels instability, it fuels everything. And then the second risk, which is type of risk, which is very much highlighted here, is a social risk. And it's not a complete surprise to see that at the country level, but the social risks are very prominent in the minds of business leaders. When we speak about social risk, we speak about inequality, we speak about public services which are not delivering the value we are expecting them to deliver. It's about decline in health and well-being. And this particular risk is present, for example, in France and Italy, as you can see, as a top risk. And these are two countries which have very high debt. So maybe there is a link. And then the technological risk, quite new. When we speak about technological risk here, we speak mostly about AI and quantum computing. So this is kind of top of mind in most countries now. And again, there is an opportunity side of it, but it's top of mind as a risk because it fuels misinformation, and we expect to face adverse outcomes of artificial intelligence in the future. And then the last comment on this slide is that whether environmental risks are not too much present. Again, it does not mean it's not top of mind of the business executives. It just means that they see it maybe more on the longer term, longer horizon of time. Let's look at now the Adria region, which gives another view of it. And you can see that it's mostly focusing on economic risk. Let's look at them. First risk identified, economic downturn, inflation, talent and/or labor shortage. Technology comes number 4, misinformation and disinformation, interesting, and then the debt. So this is what business leaders across the region say about the top risk. So here what is interesting is that obviously economic is a matter of concern, but you have also technology which is in the top 5. So business leaders in the region consider that the technology is a risk which is along economic risks, which is interesting in terms of positioning. And then if we don't ask only the business executives anymore, but the larger risk community, as I've mentioned, so academic, country leaders, subject matter experts, then you can see a few focus areas of risks for the Balkan sub-region. Geopolitical instability is mentioned because the region is sensitive to external influences, to obviously ongoing conflicts, and this is framing the risk perception. Again, we are speaking about perception. Then cybersecurity threats. This is also mentioned. The region is facing increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks, and these cyber attacks are targeting state institutions. So it's a call of duty for governments to improve their cybersecurity frameworks and to be ready for that. Then the third insight which is given about the region is the disinformation and espionage. So this is because of campaigns of disinformation, and this poses, of course, additional security risk. And then climate again. So here we can see a more broader perspective, which is not only about economy, but about other types of risk. And then to summarize the global overview of business leaders. Again, we are going back to the business leaders specifically, and this is a global view. So when you speak about to business leaders, of course, they are mostly focusing on economy, and this is why you have so many risks which are linked to the economy. The first risk identified being the economic downturn. The number 4, inflation and debt. But interestingly, they see society risks as part of the top 5. Because of course, if your economy is not strong, you have consequences on your society. Maybe 2 more comments here. The first comment is that business leaders don't mention the geopolitical risks and the environmental risk prominently in this report. Again, it's more a horizon of time, and their main concern today is about that, what you see on the slide. And also, interestingly, misinformation and disinformation appear more and more in the top 5 risk listing, because we are just, let's say, living a year 25, which was marked by the rapid adoption of AI, by elections which were influenced by disinformation, by the proliferation of bad actors and cyber threats. So misinformation, disinformation, technological risks are expected to rise. And then the question is, what should we do? And this is what this slide is about. So we are speaking about many different types of risks, about an evolution of the perception of risks over time. We are speaking about interconnection of risks together, which are amplifying themselves together. We are speaking about chains of risk. And then the question is, how can we manage this, we as business leaders, as administration leaders, as country leaders? So here you have a framework, a proposal of framework that we call the strategic imperatives, which gives an idea on how to manage in this complex risk ecosystem. So there are 5 imperatives. The first one is that you need to work on scenarios for your scope of activities, for your scope of administration, for your scope of research. Work on scenarios. Identify what are the probable scenarios which can disrupt your value chain, and build strategies for each of these scenarios. This is the first imperative that you need to do. And this is about anticipating change. The second imperative is about the supply chain. We see geopolitical confrontation. We see a lot of interstate-based conflicts. We see climate weather, extreme climate weather. And this impacts our supply chain. So you need to identify and mitigate the potential supply chain choke points, which means that you don't want your supply chain to have any single point of failure. And the way to do that is you need to increase your optionality for your supply chain. You need to have options. So you need to have multiple options to manage your supply. And this is the key for managing supply chain. It's about having multiple cards in your hand that whenever one side of the supply chain fails, then you can compensate with the other side. The third imperative, and this is where we see that AI is an opportunity and not only a risk, it's to leverage AI and analytics, because what you want to know in a risky ecosystem, what you want to know is what happens. You want to be aware, you want to be informed. So real-time analytics, fueled by AI and so many technologies, will give you the timely assessments and insights that you need to make your decisions. And this is not an easy game, because as we said, risks are interconnected. So you need to look at you need to have multiple sensors, multiple data collection points, analyze them with the right technology, and make sure you are always informed day to day to make sure that you are able to make the right decisions. And the imperative number 4, it's about your workforce. If your supply chain is robust, if you have your scenarios, if you have your AI, which is giving you a lot of information and a lot of insights about what happens, what you need then is to make sure that your workforce is capable of reacting. So what you need with your workforce is 2 things. The first one is you want your workforce to be agile. So you want it to be reactive, so you need to train them. You need to equip them to be reactive and agile so that they can change, transform themselves whenever there is a risk or whenever there is a disruption which happens on your value chain. So this is the first thing you want to adjust or you want to get with your workforce, the workforce adaptability. And the second thing that you want is trust with your workforce because you want them to be disciplined when a disruption happens. And this is about trust in your decision-making processes. So these two sides of things, agility and trust, are the two pillars which will make you and your workforce capable of managing the disruption. And the fifth imperative is your infrastructure. You need it to be resilient. So for that, there is one keyword. For supply chain, it was optionality. For infrastructure, it is redundancy. You need to make your infrastructure redundant. If you have the right redundancy for your infrastructure, then if there is one point of failure somewhere, you can back it up with the rest of your setup. So this is about anticipating risks. It's about building resilience at scale, and it's about a call of duty for each and every leader in the world to make sure that we are able to manage this evolving ecosystem of risks. Now let's look at two topics in details that we spoke extensively about, but which are both an opportunity and a risk. So speaking about AI and quantum computing. It's important because, and this will be the conclusion, so I am anticipating a bit the conclusion of the report, but we are facing not more risks, but more interconnected risks. So this is obviously a danger. It's something that we need to manage, that we need to be prepared for, but if we turn it into the positive way, it's about also building a competitive advantage, because the companies which will succeed in the future are the ones which are able to manage these risks. So the more we know the risk and the better we are prepared and the more we have a competitive advantage versus our competitors. So if we look at AI and quantum computing, there are two sides of the coin, an opportunity side and a risk side. So starting with the risk side. AI is generating misinformation and disinformation. This is very clear. And we see it every day in our social networks. So this misinformation impacts the social cohesion and the trust. It fuels also cyber attacks. We are all a victim of cyber attacks every day. We are receiving texts, phone calls, scams every day. And this is more and more sophisticated, and this is fueled by AI. AI is also about labor market disruptions. So there are so many companies which are announcing that they are laying off hundreds, if not thousands, of their workforce because of the AI impact. Let's be very clear on this one. We are speaking only about the potential of AI, because the AI has not delivered its full impact yet. So when we are laying off, or companies are laying off because of AI, it's about the potential of AI. And this is linked also to, it will be amplified also by poor supply disruptions. But then AI is also a promise, no? It's also an opportunity for data analysis, which is more and more sophisticated. It's about productivity. If you leverage AI, you increase the productivity of your workforce, and you kind of upgrade them. They are more equipped if they use AI. It's also about new job creation, because you need AI engineers and so many colleagues to manage this complexity and this new technology. And it's about resilience, as we said. So it's important, and this is why we are kind of concluding this report with this information. Risk is not only a danger, it's also an opportunity. So it's always important to see whatever disruption is coming as an opportunity, either because you leverage this new technology or this new matter of fact, or because you are better in managing the risk. And when we speak about supply chains, so they are more and more stretched and stressed because of geopolitical confrontation. What happens in the Middle East, we saw have impacts on so many supply chains, but also the climate, extreme weather events have impacts on the supply chains. We have infrastructure, specifically in Europe, which are aging, so they are less reliable than before. We have labor shortages. However, so this is a danger, this is a risk. However, the companies which will be able to manage the supply chains with real-time insights and data and information will be the one winning the competition in the next years. And this is the conclusion of our report, which is about the opportunities. And this is where it's about ending still on a constructive point and not only scaring you with the risks which are in front of us. The key message is that even in a competitive world, which is more risky than before, there are opportunities. We just need to shift the way we lead. So it's a call of duty for a longer-term view of the risk. We need to anticipate, as we said, with scenarios. We need to leverage a holistic and diverse view of risk to improve resilience. We need to build organizations which are agile, and we need to empower leaders and the employees. And then we need to connect everything. And the question also, it's about collaboration. How do we collaborate together, corporates, states, administration, to manage this risk accordingly, and then to build our competitive advantage collectively. Thank you for listening. I don't know if we take one or two questions, if any.
Do you hear me?
Yes. And I can rephrase for everyone.
Vesna Lapčić, Be Risk Protected platform. I'm wondering which insurance product is most popular now in Western countries in terms of these risks?
Yes. So, of course, insurance is our area of expertise, so happy to answer to this question. So your question is related to the insurance products which are the most popular, right, yes, for business. I mean, the answer will be very simple. I think cyber risk, cyber insurance products covering either businesses or even individuals or even small companies, this is an increasingly area of focus for our clients and for our partners, insurance companies, because there are obviously risk perceptions around that, which is increasing over time, and we believe that insurance and the insurance ecosystem as a whole has a role to play in managing this risk, not only by providing a coverage because of your losses, but also by working on the prevention side of things, and this is where we are, I think, quite active to propose prevention measures, anticipation measures to manage the risks, and then ultimately, if you are hit by a cyber attack, then of course to be compensated.
Hello, my name is Alexander Nedeljković. I am from company Mainstream. We are actually your customers, so thank you for your support. I would like to ask you, I saw in all these top 5 risks, there is no cyber risk in either Adriatic, neither Bulgaria and Romania. Do you see this cyber risk as somewhere in top 10, or you don't even see them as on the list? As a cloud company, we see that this risk is emerging dramatically. So does the leaders in the region also see this risk, or they're not even on their minds or
whatever? No, fair question. So the question is related to the cyber risk, which are not part of the top 5, right, of the Adria region in terms of risk. I would not say it's not top of mind. I would say that the economic side of risks is more prominent. So this is, it's a top 5, so of course you have risks which are below. And in the top 5, the prominent ones are really the economic ones. So the main fears are related to the economy, to the capacity for the economy to grow. And when we look at the broader perspective of the region, we can see that disinformation, misinformation, and cyber threats was also part of the key risks mentioned. So when you look at the business side of things, it's more related to economic risk. If you look at the broader perspective with academic experts and country and institutions, then you have the cyber risk, which is also here. So I would say that the answer is a bit mixed, but I think it's definitely part of the picture. Okay, thank you very much.